Experience. Okay, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Balqisa. I was born and raised in Australia. The city I was raised in was Perth. I'm currently a third year uni student studying international aid and development and community development.
Okay. And when you enter your university,
Murdoch University.
Murdoch University, and when you start studied in there,
I started studying in 2019, so in June 2019, and I'll be finishing inshallah in 2021 July.
okay, okay, okay. It is interested because it is our first podcast and use English. I hope it is still understood from the others. And please the speak not so fast. We just so slowly, so slowly speaking.
Yeah.
Okay. We talk about maybe education ya. It is more to comparison, or maybe you can share your experience education in Australia, and after that we can talk about the multicultural like that. I think it is very interesting. Okay. Education in Australia. What do you think? It is very good for women or for all people can access the education in there, and it is any many scholarship or not, or it is on our parents pay the apa some price to take the university, or what? Maybe you can share about that.
Okay, so with education in Australia, it is so anyone is able to gain education in Australia, whether you're male, female, other, or a migrant. So it's pretty easy to get education in Australia. Majority of students do go up until year 12. Legally, you do have to go until year 10, and then you can choose to do either TAFE or trades. But if you do want to get into university, majority of people finish year 12 and then they'll get in that way by either doing a bridging course or by sitting their year 12 exams.
Okay. And Murdoch University, you know the story of Murdoch University? Murdoch is a name of person or what?
No, Murdoch is not named after a person. I do believe other universities within Australia are, but with Murdoch, it's just the area that it's in. So the area that the university is in is called Murdoch, so that's a suburb.
Okay.
So they've just named it after the suburb.
Okay. It is far for your home, the university?
It's about 15 minutes. I normally, if I'm going to uni, I normally take a bus or I drive.
Oh, 50 minutes, yeah?
15, yeah.
Oh, 15?
Yeah.
Okay. 15 minutes. And it is commonly used a bus or a bicycle or motorcycle or what?
Majority of students either drive or they take public transport, so either bus or train. The
Okay.
bus and train stations are generally really close to universities and schools.
Okay, okay. Okay, I think in Yogyakarta, for example, when I studied in Gajah Mada University, it's more many people use public transportation like bus or bicycle like that. And I don't know the situation in Perth in Murdoch University. It is very crowded or not, the bus like that.
So for public transport,
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite simple to get there by public transport. We have the train station, and buses right next to it.
Okay. And many students use bicycle or not?
Yeah, majority of students go by public transport only because it is the cheaper option.
Okay.
So you don't pay very much using public transport, but to park your car in the university is quite expensive per semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, using bicycle, it is common in there.
Not very common because not many people live in the Murdoch area.
Okay.
Except for if you're an international student and live in the university.
Okay.
But yeah, majority of people just take bus because not a lot of people live close to the universities.
Okay. Could you share about your experience that or your observation, I think, about women can access education. Wherever you have said that many people can access education very well, but any problem or not, for example, about what's the problem people in Australia, actually in Perth, if they not take the university, take the study in university, what's the problem if they not take?
If people decide not to go to university, there are a lot of other options.
Okay.
A lot of people do decide to go to TAFE instead. So TAFE is more like a college. It's pretty much a lower level than university. So instead of doing a degree, you'll do a diploma, and you can find a lot of jobs doing a diploma, or you can always do trades like electrician or mechanic. So you go into doing a pre-apprenticeship and then your apprenticeship.
Okay. Many people choose like diploma too, or polytechnic like that.
There are quite a lot of people. So my younger brother that just graduated, he decided to do a pre-apprenticeship and become an electrician instead of going to university.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And why you interested take the community development and international international relation, what
International aid and development.
international aid and development, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, why you interested to take it?
I think they're both very useful degrees. I think they're quite important. So community development aims to enable people to create positive social changes within communities. And international aid and development, I think it hits home to me because my parents migrated here. So being able to help in international aid in other countries that are less fortunate would be very good.
Okay. It is sometimes learn about community development. For example, it is some problem about maybe community in society or village in Australia or not, because in here, for example, in Indonesia, or Yogyakarta, I will take the example that Mitra Wacana accompany some woman community in some village, because we any some problem we analyze in some area, and we took the decision, okay, we need a company the community in the some village. Actually in Kulon Progo we have a program in there that is about human trafficking issue. We use, yeah, I think it is about community development subject like that. But actually, it is interested if you want to share about what community development in the apa ya. This subject is what the apa what you learn about that like that.
So for within what we study, within Australia, we don't really have villages. So what we have is we have the metropolitan area, which is the city. So
Okay.
that's Perth. And then we have regional, which is the small towns outside of Perth. And then we have rural, which is pretty much the all other areas. So they kind of like smaller villages, if you'd like to call them that. And then normally the people that normally live there are the Indigenous Australians within Western Australia.
Okay.
So if you do want to work in community development, you can either work in as a community development officer within cities. So we have a community development group for each suburb of Perth, and then or you could be working in either regional towns, or you if you like the rural, you can also move to rural. So it's either if you want to work in a city, and then there's also non-government organizations, which are community development organizations.
Okay.
So these would be ones like a lot like Mitra Wacana, which we have like women one, and then we have one for just Somalis, we have one for just Malaysians.
Okay.
So they also go out into countries as well.
Okay. And it is very often, for example, visiting in apa the area that practicing the apa the subject like that.
So we do placements, so within our degree. So for my placement last semester, I did it with a Somali organization within Perth.
Okay.
We were last semester supposed to go to Denmark, which is in a regional area in WA,
Okay.
right next to a couple hours from Perth, and do a placement there as well. A lot of people don't really travel to regional or rural areas unless they find a career there or find a job there. Other than that, you normally do your placement within the city.
Okay. And you said that Somalia community, any Somalia community, many people from Somalia live there, or Malaysian or Indonesian in Perth like that.
Yeah, we're actually very multicultural. For the Indonesian and some Indonesian and Malaysian community, a lot of them do live in the further outskirts of Perth, but they do still live within a city. So then a lot of them have also their own mosques. So there's the Somali mosque, which is in one suburb, and then we also have a Turkish mosque. There's an Indonesian and Malaysian mosque. So they have their own community organizations that also run those mosques.
Okay. And have you often have like do some activity together with different community like that? For example, take some issue or what?
We do have charity fundraisers together sometimes. So, for example, they'll come to a Somali organization and fundraise, or the Somali organization will go to the Indonesian community and fundraise. Or we do also have Eid festivals where all cultures kind of come together and pray Eid Salah, and then also have like a festival afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, I think it very interesting ya. You can meet many people from different background like that. And yeah. And what do you think about communicate with the others people from the others background? It is sometimes difficult or very easy?
I think it's quite simple, only because Australia is very multicultural. So majority of the time when we go to school or when we go to even uni, you're more likely to see someone from a different background than yourself. So
Okay.
I went to the Australian Islamic College within Perth, and for that we had a lot of different ethnic backgrounds. So it wasn't just Somali community or just Malaysians or just we had everyone sitting together and everyone studying together. So we kind of all grew up together. So it has been very easy to communicate.
Okay. Uh, have you apa joined with the organization in the mosque? Uh,
I haven't joined it, but I do help out at events.
okay. Because some of Indonesian student, some talk, they share their apa story that they active in some mosque and met different people and do some apa many activity in there too like that.
Yeah, we definitely do many activities. So what I do is instead of being a member, I volunteer. So I'll normally volunteer with whenever there's an event. So if there's like a barbecue or like a Quran reading or even the Eid festivals, I normally go and volunteer instead.
Okay. Many marks in apa in Perth or not in your area?
Within my area, there's quite a few. So in Perth, there's probably about 20, probably.
20.
That's just within the city. Yeah.
Oh, 20. I think it is very apa many too. 20.
Yeah, no, because it is different from like an Islamic country or a predominantly Muslim country where there's a lot more mosques. But within us, because everyone normally drives to the mosque, they're not very far. So I have probably about 3 or 4 where in like a 10-minute distance from my house.
Okay. And when about the terrorism issues like that, it is have impact too in the community in Muslim community in Australia and from Malaysia, Indonesia, Somali or the others background that have impact when about the terrorist issue, for example, like that.
So I didn't feel like it really impacted me or anyone in Perth. There was a lot of a lot of people from the Muslim community that were being attacked in Sydney and Melbourne. But I think because Perth is quite a small city, it didn't really affect us at all.
Okay. The Perth Perth cities safe, yeah, is very good.
Yeah, it's quite small in comparison to the other bigger cities.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes, for example, in Indonesia, when have some issues in the other country, we respond very hard. For example, some community or organization do a protest, and sometimes it makes like discriminate for the others, maybe race or people like that. And yeah, it is very must we careful talk about that when discuss about the race or religion. Sometimes it is very some people not easy to accept the differences like that. And hopefully talk about multicultural is help the other that many people is different and it is okay difference like that.
Yeah.
And okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think within Australia, all parts of Australia, because there are so many people that practice so many different religions, and some choose to not practice any religion at all, they are a bit more tolerant towards other religions.
Okay. Yeah. And uh, what I want to say, mm, yeah, it is about policy, for example. Uh, uh, in Indonesia, we have many apa ya, uh, race and many apa people that different place, and they together apa gathering, for example in Yogyakarta, they communicate and they know each other. It mean they can accept it, the differences for the other, because they know the people from many place and not apa make them easy to apa fit like that. I don't know in Australia that when people know well because they communicate in organization or communicate in the school, communicate in the workplace like that, it is helpful to the others know each other and make apa not apa ya to intimidate the others like that.
Yeah, so I think that definitely helps, and I think it was over years of working together and trying to communicate that we've reached a point in Australia where the discrimination is less. It does still happen, but previously, if we looked at it 10 years ago, there was probably more discrimination to certain groups such as Muslims and Sikhs, and even certain racial groups as well.
Yeah.
But I think at this point in time, we have become more tolerant of different races and different religions.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I thought about the apa ya tribe in Indonesia. In Indonesia, many tribe in the here, from Aceh until Papua. Many tribe, race, religion too, and if each other not accepted differences, I think it is will be a problem. But yeah, still, all people Indonesia in the ideologic is to unity. The others that differences is accepted like that. It is natural. We have differences for the other, and you can could you share about the your experience that communicate with the other people when the difference like that, the difference yeah, different race, different religion, different maybe what's the economic status or what, any have problem like that in the
I with probably race, we don't really have an issue as to what country you come from, because majority of people within Australia, like their ancestors, are not Australian. They're normally from either England or any other country. So if you ask someone what is your background, a lot of people don't find it offensive. I have a lot of people as a Muslim that wears a hijab. I have a lot of people that ask me like, why do you wear it? And depending on the way they ask, I don't find it offensive. I don't mind answering.
okay.
So there are a lot of people that do know that, for example, Muslims or other religions do exist, but don't really know anything about other religions because they themselves don't believe in anything.
Okay. Yeah, it mean apa? For example, yeah, some people maybe is use hijab, still make apa ya? I forget the what. Saya cari di kamus dulu. Okay, suspicious. Yeah, some still suspicious. Use hijab or apa burqa like that. Yeah, it is sometimes when it is not maybe not just in Australia or the other. Some in Indonesia, some people still suspicious about it, because actually about the terrorist issue, like just like that. However, maybe it is very not clear about the explanation why they suspicious about that. But yeah, it happened
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I think in Australia they've become more tolerant towards the hijab, but I do know that people are still suspicious about the burqa and people covering their faces.
Okay, okay. Okay, and yeah, it is more talk about multicultural, yeah. Multicultural. Okay, back for education. Okay, we will talk multicultural too after that. But I still interested talk about education.
Yeah.
It is about the up like price. What a price in and I use a camus. Oh gosh. A course in junior high school, senior high school, and university. It is very expensive or not, or any many scholarship from government or from corporate like that.
So for our schools, whether primary or high school, we have two types of school, which is either a private school or a public school. So public schools are run by the Department of Education in Australia. They are at a very low cost,
Okay.
so they're probably only about 200, 300 a year,
Okay.
whilst private schools are very expensive, so some people don't choose to take their children to private schools because it can start at about 2,000 to about 20,000 a year.
Okay. And
So yeah.
many people choose private school or public school.
I think it really depends. Majority of private schools are religious schools. So, for example, Australian Islamic College was a private school, and if you want to have a certain religion within a school, that normally is a private school. So, in Perth, we have a couple private schools for Christians and Catholics. I think we have one for Jewish. So normally private schools are based on the religion that majority of people practice, but that's not saying that if you go to a Muslim school, non-Muslims can't go in. They can still come, but it's predominantly Muslim people, as the same as Christian schools.
Okay. It means many school that related with religion is more private private school, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're able to pay the amount that it is, because I know some of the Catholic and Christian schools got to about $10,000 a year, which if you have more than one child can be very expensive. So public might be the better option for in that case.
Okay. Okay. And you enter in private school or public school?
I went to a private school for primary school, and then I went to a private school for high school until my last year. And then for my last year of school, I went to a public school next to my house.
Okay. And university, it is the status of public university and private university too, or what? And university?
Within Perth, we have all our universities are public except for one. We've only got one, which is called Notre Dame, which is a predominantly Christian university, but all other universities are public universities. And with university, what happens is you don't have to pay upfront. Instead, you can put it on your hex. So and then you'll have to pay it back once you graduate and start working. But if you are either a New Zealand citizen or an international, you do have to pay for it upfront.
Okay. Oh yeah, I think it's interesting. Okay, I think it is the session first enough. We have like short video, maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes. After that we dialogue again. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, we will rehat sejenak in Indonesian. Okay. Okay. Your sound is very clear. Okay. Sorry, we have some problem technically.
That's okay.
Yeah, it is a first about since COVID. Before COVID, we often not often but 2 or 3 times use Skype and very good. But maybe because very rare use it, it is still need adaptation. Okay. Last discussion. What the topic? last discussion.
I think we were referring to bullying in schools.
Okay, it's bullying in school. Because your son last discussion, your son not clear because in here very trouble, have a problem. Maybe you can repeat just for a while the explanation.
Oh, okay. So bullying in schools in Australia.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so I was stating that I think the reason there's lack of bullying in schools is probably because of the policies within the schools. So schools are not very tolerant on bullying, and anyone that does bully another person could be subject to getting suspended or expelled.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't believe it's anything to do with the parenting, because within Australia everyone comes from very different backgrounds, meaning that the parenting is very different. And I think it's more to do with the school policies, and that's probably the reason why there's a lack of bullying in schools.
Okay. If you, it is your observation. I need maybe you have observation about your neighbor, or maybe your experience that how parents in Australia accompany the children grow up like that. It is very good communicate, or it is many use violence like that, or what? Maybe you can tell me about that.
With parenting within Australia or within Perth, I don't think many people use violence, because there is laws and legislations stating that parents cannot be violent towards children.
Yeah.
So that's so it's pretty much illegal for parents to hit or spank their children. In my opinion, I think growing up, my parents were communicated very well with us. They pretty much helped us grow up while giving us a sense of independence to do what we needed and make the choices that we wanted. So
Okay.
that was to do with schooling, the subjects we wanted to take, what we wanted to do after, so uni or TAFE or anything like that. So I think majority of parents within Australia are very open-minded about that, and some people have very close relationships with their parents. Others don't. So I had friends that didn't really speak to their parents, but I think I have a very close relationship with my parents, so that's why my upbringing was quite good, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, if at apa talked about apa said about for example story in parenting in Indonesia, for example some parent, for example many parent in the past didn't good communicate, I think, with the children. Many use violence, that is very common, but now many parents is very good communicate with the children. They apa it is very rare, however maybe still any case that apa a parent do some violence, but it is not common. But in the past it is very common parent do violent in the apa to children. But no, yeah, it is maybe, I don't know why, maybe socialist about apa preventing of violence to children, or what it is good, because many like a movement that to community and a policy to preventing for example sexual harassment, children violence like that. And I think it is make people understand and know about, yeah, it is bad if do violent to children like that. And education, I think it is important, very important to the others, the people know about some issues, for example about domestic violence, children violent like that. And in Australia socialize about the many issues in the community is massive too, or what?
I wouldn't say child violence is very common within communities in Australia. Sexual violence and domestic violence, I think more domestic violence is quite common, but it is really behind closed doors, so you don't hear about it very much.
Okay. I think it is our time is still 5 minutes, yeah. I think maybe you have some conclusion, or maybe have suggestion about the education maybe in people in the world people in the world, maybe in Australia or Indonesia, like that, about education, about multicultural, like that.
I think with multiculturalism, it does become second-hand nature once you are living with people from very different backgrounds, or from different cultures, religions, traditions. It does become very easy to communicate with each other, because majority of people that you see in schools, universities, or in the workplace are 99 times out of 100 probably not from the same background as you. So I think understanding and respecting other people's backgrounds, religions, or cultures would be the easiest way in communicating. And if you are curious in another person's background or religion, there is always respectful ways to go and ask if you do need a bit more information or anything like that.
Okay, thank you for your discussion. It is good for us to understood many issues like that, Balqisa. I think it is not last, yeah. We still have time to discuss. Maybe 2 weeks, next 2 weeks. I think we still discuss it, and maybe in the different topic, maybe more specific topic. I don't know. We can discuss it. We can discuss it. Thank you for your time. Sorry for the technically problem. It is we will try in the next meeting. It is more good again.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me. Terima kasih.
Sama-sama. Maybe we take photo first. Bisa?
Yeah.
Okay, Mas Robi. I will. Okay. Oh, neng kamera. 2, 3. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mas Robi. Thank you, Balqisa. Nice to meet you. Hopefully, to next week or next week we meet in maybe thematic discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe in the house, not me, maybe different. I will a member of discussion.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you teman-teman volunteer Mitra Wacana semua. Ini podcast kita agak spesial ini. Agak spesial, masalah teknisnya banyak gitu. Lalu tadi pakai bahasa Inggris ya, bahasa Inggris saya jelas belepotan, tapi nggak apa-apa, latihan gitu. Oke, gitu ya Mas Robi. Ini sudah selesai, Mas direkam tuh ini. Oke, sampai ketemu minggu depan. Kita masih ada podcast lagi sama dengan teman-teman Australia juga, beda orang. Oke, tunggu ya minggu depan. Assalamualaikum.